The bell above the door jingled as another wave of customers entered the Copper Spoon. It was the kind of diner where time seemed to run slower, where the smell of buttered toast lingered in the air and the radio played old love songs that nobody admitted they still liked. Alina, with her hair tucked under a faded maroon headband, balanced a tray of plates on one hand while refilling coffees with the other. She had worked double shifts all week, and though exhaustion tugged at her muscles, she refused to let it show. The diner was her escape, her tiny bubble of routine in a life filled with unpredictability. As she scanned the room, she noticed someone she hadn't seen before. A solitary elderly man sat in the far corner, half hidden by the shadow of the wall clock. His clothes were clean but worn, his hair was thin, silver, and neatly combed. What stood out most was the wheelchair and the way his hands trembled so violently that even the napkin on his lap fluttered. He looked scared, not of people, but of inconveniencing them. Alina approached with a smile that felt like sunshine after a day of clouds. "Good afternoon, sir. Can I get you started with anything?" The man opened his mouth, but his voice broke into pieces, stuttering, collapsing on itself. Other customers turned to look. A couple of teenagers snickered. A businessman glanced over in irritation, as if the mere sound complicated his lunch. The old man's eyes dropped in shame. Alina knelt slightly to meet his gaze. "It's okay," she said softly. "We'll figure it out together." With trembling fingers, he pointed toward the menu, accidentally knocking it off the table. When Alina reached for it, she did so without the slightest hint of impatience. "How about soup today, or maybe something more filling?" His slow nod and broken gestures led them to a choice: tomato soup and a turkey sandwich. She repeated it gently, making sure he felt included in the decision. When she brought the plate, she noticed he stared at the spoon as if it were an enemy. He tried to lift it, but his hand jerked, sending warm soup splashing onto his trousers. A silence swept the tables nearby. Someone sighed in annoyance. Someone else whispered, "Poor guy." The man flinched, face burning with humiliation. Alina moved quickly but carefully. She grabbed fresh napkins, crouched beside him, and began cleaning up the mess with slow, respectful movements. "It's all right, I've got you," she murmured. Then, after a moment, she pulled a chair beside him. "If it's okay with you, I can help you eat." His eyes glistened with gratitude, and something like disbelief. That was when a tall, sharply dressed stranger in a tailored suit stood up from near the window, watching every gesture with unsettling intensity. He wasn't just observing, he was judging, and he was coming straight toward them. The sharp click of polished shoes against the diner floor cut through the quiet hum of conversations. Heads lifted, forks paused midway. Even the old radio seemed to lower its volume as the tall stranger approached the corner table. Alina felt the air shift, the way it does right before a storm breaks. The old man in the wheelchair stiffened. His trembling worsened, not from illness this time, but from recognition. The man in the suit stopped right in front of them. He was striking, tall, broad-shouldered, with a jaw cut like stone and eyes the cold, sharp blue of winter glass. His suit alone cost more than Alina earned in a month. His watch glinted under the diner's light, pure gold, unmistakably expensive. But it was his expression that made Alina's breath hitch. He looked furious. "Excuse me," the billionaire said, voice low but vibrating with restrained anger. "What exactly are you doing with my father?" The word father hit the table like a dropped plate. Conversations around them froze into silence. Someone gasped. The teenagers at the booth leaned forward. Even the cook peeked out from the kitchen window. Alina blinked. Her heart hammered against her ribs. I was just helping him eat. He spilled his soup, and that," the billionaire cut in sharply, "is not your job." His gaze moved from her to his father. The old man shrank back, eyes filling with a painful mixture of shame and fear, the kind that only comes from years of disappointing someone you care about. Alina pushed down her instinct to step away. Instead, she stayed seated beside the old man, refusing to let him feel abandoned. "I'm sorry if I overstepped," she said quietly. "He just needed a little help." The billionaire's jaw tightened. His driver, standing behind him like a silent shadow, cleared his throat as if reminding him they were in public. The son exhaled sharply. "You shouldn't have been left alone," he muttered to his father. "You know better than to go anywhere without telling me." The old man lowered his head. His fingers curled inward helplessly. Alina felt something twist inside her, a tug of sympathy so strong it almost hurt. "Sir," she said, steadying her voice, "your father didn't do anything wrong. He tried his best. He just wanted lunch." The billionaire's eyes flicked toward her, surprise breaking through his irritation. "Why are you defending him?" "Because someone should," she replied softly. A ripple passed through his expression. Confusion, frustration, then something far more vulnerable, quickly buried. For a moment, he seemed at war with himself. Finally, he spoke, quieter this time. "What's your name?" "Alina." He nodded slowly, as if committing it to memory. "Well, Alina," he said, "you may have changed more than just my father's afternoon." He didn't explain. He simply signaled his driver, who hurried forward, and then he turned back to Alina with a look that was no longer angry, but calculating, curious, and almost grateful. The moment wasn't over. It was just beginning. The driver wheeled the old man toward a cleaner part of the diner, away from staring eyes. The billionaire followed, but his gaze kept drifting back to Alina, as if trying to understand something he wasn't used to feeling. Alina stood frozen for a moment after they moved. She had been yelled at by customers before, blamed for things outside her control, but this felt different. This confrontation had cracked something open, not just in the billionaire but in her as well. When she finally stepped toward them, the billionaire raised a hand. "Wait." He studied her with the focus of someone used to analyzing investment reports, not people. "You fed him," he said slowly, as if tasting the words. "Not because you had to. Not because anyone was watching. You did it out of compassion." Alina blinked. "Isn't that what people do? Help each other?" He let out a humorless chuckle. "Not in my world." His father looked up at him, eyes full of a longing so clear it pierced Alina's chest. It was the look of someone who remembered a son who once sat beside him, laughing, sharing meals, long before life became a battlefield of power and money. The billionaire shifted uneasily under that gaze, then turned back to Alina. "I owe you an apology." The entire diner seemed to gasp again. Even Alina's own breath caught. "I was wrong to raise my voice," he added stiffly. "I reacted out of fear." "Fear," Alina echoed. He hesitated. It wasn't easy for a man like him to admit anything vulnerable. "My father wandered off this morning. His condition has been worsening. I've been told I need to cut my work hours, but He stopped, jaw tightening. "Let's just say I'm not good at slowing down." Ah, Alina understood now. His anger wasn't truly at her. It was at himself. "So when I saw you feeding him," he continued, "I assumed you were taking advantage or making a spectacle." Alina's eyebrows rose. Feeding a hungry man is not taking advantage. This time, the billionaire actually looked embarrassed. Before he could respond, his father tugged lightly at Alina's sleeve with trembling fingers. His broken voice rasped, "Good girl." Alina smiled softly. "You're very welcome." The billionaire watched the exchange with an expression she couldn't decipher, something like awe mixed with frustration at his own inability to provide the same level of gentleness. He cleared his throat. "I want to make this right. You shouldn't have to work in a place where customers mock kindness." Alina frowned. "It's honest work." "I'm not saying it isn't." His voice softened. "I'm saying you deserve more." She crossed her arms. "Like what?" He took a step closer. "I want to hire you." The words landed like thunder. "To do what?" she asked carefully. "To help care for my father," he said. "Full-time, proper salary, benefits, a better environment. He likes you. And you saw him as a human being, not a burden." Alina's eyes widened. She looked at the old man, who nodded eagerly, eyes pleading for her acceptance. "This is a lot," she whispered. "It is," the billionaire agreed. "But it's real. And it's yours if you want it." The diner held its breath. Alina felt hers slipping away, replaced by something that felt like fate opening a door. The diner seemed to shrink around Alina as the billionaire's offer echoed in her ears. Every sound, the clatter of dishes, the hiss of the grill, the chime of the door, faded into a distant hum. For a moment, it was just her, the old man, and his powerful son whose gaze held an unspoken urgency. "Take your time," the billionaire said, though everything about him looked impatient, not for her answer, but for what it represented. A chance to make things right. A chance to repair something he didn't even know was broken until he'd witnessed his father's humiliation and her compassion. Alina swallowed hard, shifting her gaze to the old man in the wheelchair. His eyes, warm, hopeful, glistening with emotion, told her more than any words could. He wanted her there. He trusted her. "Sir," she began slowly, turning back to the billionaire, "you don't even know me." "I know enough," he replied instantly. "I saw more character in 5 minutes of your kindness than I've seen in years of dealing with executives." His words hung there, sincere and vulnerable in a way that surprised even him. The driver looked stunned. The customers looked enchanted. The cook whispered, "Is this a movie?" Alina took a deep breath. Part of her was tempted. A stable salary would be life-changing. No more juggling shifts, no more worrying about overdue bills, no more scraping through life one exhausted day at a time. But another part of her was cautious. "What if I'm not qualified?" she asked. "You are," the billionaire said. "I've hired dozens of people who looked perfect on paper and treated my father like an obligation." "You treated him like he mattered." The old man reached for her hand again, his trembling fingers closing around hers with surprising strength. "Please," he whispered, a single word, fragile as glass. Her heart cracked. She glanced around. The people who had judged him earlier were now pretending they hadn't. Some were clearly ashamed. Alina had always hated how society treated the vulnerable, like inconveniences rather than humans. If she accepted this job, she could give this man dignity every day. She could ease his fear. She could soften the loneliness in his eyes. But this wasn't just about kindness. This was about trust, about stepping into a world far different from her own. "Where would I work?" she asked, needing clarity. "His home. Our home," the billionaire corrected. "You'd have flexible hours, a private room if needed. Medical support staff will handle the complex tasks. You'd focus on companionship, on being the gentle presence he clearly connects with." Alina's throat tightened. She'd never been offered anything like this. Not even close. "And if it doesn't work out?" she whispered. "Then we part ways respectfully," he said. "But I hope it does." For the first time, her eyes met his fully. Behind the businesslike confidence, she saw something raw, a man carrying guilt, responsibility, and a desperate desire to repair a relationship that success had slowly destroyed. He wasn't just offering her a job. He was asking for help, for forgiveness, for a second chance with his father. Alina exhaled shakily and looked at the old man again. His eyes brimmed with gratitude, with a plea so quiet yet so powerful. "Yes," she finally said. "I'll do it." A breath she didn't realize the billionaire was holding escaped him. His shoulders eased. His father squeezed her hand, tears welling. And somewhere deep inside the walls of the copper spoon, fate smiled. Because this moment, simple, unexpected, born from spilled soup and a stranger's kindness, was about to change all three of their lives forever.